because it's a Saturday and I've got nothing better to do, I've decided to go for a little hike.
Somebody's getting it, somebody's getting love.
There is a theory out there which explains the reason behind so many Koreans wearing corrective eyewear. And the theory says that in order to have a good eyesight, you need to be able to cast your gaze amongst unobscured landscapes, or landscapes unobscured by obstacles. Korea, being splattered by mountains the way it is, makes that very feat impossible. That just sounded very convoluted. Let me explain this again, so I understand it. Basically, in order to have good eyesight, you need to be able to look at far distances without buildings, mountains and trees interfering or being in the way between your eyesight and the far distances. Korea is a country that is mountainous and heavily populated, which means that in between all the mountains, you also have neighborhoods and buildings and all the jazz in between, which often makes it difficult to actually have that luxury of looking at far distances, which ultimately is claimed to explain or to provide a reason for why so many Koreans wear glasses. This theory was put forth by a brilliant expat named Neil Armstrong, who resides in the city of Masan, and who probably kidnapped that theory from some other book that he read somewhere. But in validation of his most likely plagiarized theory, some of my Korean students agreed with that very same theory, concurring that in order to have good eyesight, one needs to be able to look into far distances. And for the most part, Koreans living at the foot level don't actually have the luxury. And so one of my students suggested to spend 2 hours each day at the top of a mountain such as this one, gazing upon the beauty that is South Korea. I have no idea if that theory can be scientifically proven in any way, if it's valid, but it kind of makes sense. Living back home in Canada, or I guess most Western nations, where there's a lot of space, a lot of flatlands, the amount of people wearing glasses is relatively small compared to how many people wear glasses in South Korea. Perhaps it's just a self-explanatory or a self-fulfilling prophecy. Today, since I had nothing else to do, nothing better to do, I figured I'm gonna go for a walk with Coco. He's a pain to walk because he's on a leash and he doesn't want to be on a leash, and I can't let him off the leash because there are people who are petrified of wild animals in the forest, so he's stuck on the leash. Ooh, a fork. Let's go left. Always uphill. Always uphill. That's where the adventure awaits. And look at that. Maybe this is the observatory. Before and after. Pretty cool view, but I think I'm gonna keep on walking. I find walking my dog very annoying, mainly because he's not very good at being on a leash. Maybe he needs more training, I don't know. But he drags and wants to sniff every tree, and I don't always pay attention to where he's at. And oftentimes I find myself dragging something heavy on the ground while he's trying to sniff, or he's wrapped around a tree or a pole. I think all dogs should just be let loose. Particularly the little ones. Like, What's a little dog gonna do? If it gets aggressive, just kick it. And this way, both of us get to enjoy the walk. Right, Coco? Coco. Now don't get my words twisted. I didn't say it's okay to kick dogs. I said the little dog should be let loose. And in the face of the fact that most people are here in Korea scared shitless of tiny little dogs, heck, most people are scared shitless of pigeons. But in the case of a little dog, it's a little dog. What's it gonna do? So, if you see a little dog that's aggressive, all you need to do is kick it. And it'll go away most of the time. Or even, not even that. Ah, forget it. See what I mean? He's gotta sniff everything. Look at him, he's like way up there. And I'm down here. No leash in the world can accommodate this distance. Hence, it's a lot easier to just let him do his thing while I do my thing. Both of us are out. Both of us are happy. And he's back. Where are you, Pooch? There's a half footpath. Check it out, in the middle of the forest. We gotta keep on walking. The other day, I saw somebody post an article online. I think it was an article released by the Korea Times that claimed that there was a movement towards an attempt to oust the present President Moon. Some concerned netizen apparently had gathered 200,000 signatures, which is the requirement needed for the assembly to give a hearing to any civil complaints. And apparently this fella, who was also behind the movement that took place a couple of years ago in a successful attempt at the impeachment of the former president, Park Geun-hye. Same fella is now claiming to have collected 200,000 signatures in an attempt to impeach the current president. We've arrived at the Namsan Pavilion. Very pretty. I'd like to go up and hang out, but I'm afraid it's kind of dog unfriendly. So I know Coco will follow me, so I gotta stay down here. A lot of the hills, the smaller hills around the neighborhood, look exactly like this. Well, clearly different blueprint, but the idea behind them is similar. To provide the locals with a means to exercise, go for walks, release stress, which is what a lot of people do. I have no idea what this one is. It says Rotary International. There are little ladles hanging by the water dispenser, but I'm not sure if it's drinkable. And my Korean doesn't carry me that far. For those who don't know, the Rotary Club is a club for established millionaires. And it's a place where millionaires get together and, I don't know, talk about their millions. I found out about this club just recently from an individual who was one of the main organizers of one or two of these clubs. There are a couple of these clubs, Rotary clubs, here in Ulsan. Actually in Korea there are a few chapters. The biggest ones are in the United States. That little mound right there behind me, right here, that's an old tomb. These also are scattered throughout the hills. So these clubs can be found all over the world, and they cater, I don't know exactly what function they serve. I guess some of these people do nice things for the world with their hard-earned money. Here is what appears to be a whole cemetery. There's a bunch of these tombs and they all look kind of abandoned. or at least not really taken care of. A lot of the land here in Korea, as you realize, Korea is a very small country, so land is pretty hard to come by oftentimes, particularly flat land. So a lot of these mountains have been in the past filled with graves, I guess to keep a lot of the flat land open for development and such. And maybe it's also considered a peaceful place to rest. That's probably the reason why a lot of the monasteries, or rather the Buddhist temples, are also placed on hills. And so when you hike through the mountains, you will oftentimes find scattered graves that are either tended or untended. If they're untended, then the family may have deceased, just leaving nothing but the graves behind. And so you will have, and nobody came to claim it, so either the government claims it, and overall people are pretty respectful of the old graves that are not being taken care of any longer. I think I'm covering too many topics all at once. There's the Rotary Club, there's the impeachment of the President Moon. The Rotary Club is a real thing, basically millionaires club. Look it up on the internet, I'm sure you'll be able to just Google it. And when it comes to President Moon and the impeachment, well, whatever Korea Times seems to believe and whatever the other article spews, I think the sentiments are not really carrying forward with a lot of the population. That is a very nice contrast, the old and the new, hand in hand. It's too bad about this tree that had to die. I mentioned the article to a group of my students who basically snickered and waved it off as insignificant. The article claims that support for the new president was waning. He was losing a lot of support because, I don't know, I guess people were becoming unhappy with what he was doing. He wasn't doing enough, I guess, or not fast enough, or not sufficiently enough. Who knows? People are always complaining about everything. But when I brought it up to a group of my students, they laughed it off, saying that his support is too strong and it's too large, and there's no way that anybody would choose to, proceed with the impeachment. Probably a good thing too, because having a third president in a row go through a ordeal like that, second impeachment and third scandal, oh brother. Korean statistics for presidential elections wouldn't be looking very good. This is a little temple that's just located right here. That is a formidable looking gate. I have no idea where I ended up. No problem, we'll get there. It's nice. This is the first time in a long time that I get a chance to just hang. As are these dudes here. Oftentimes the old timers get together and play. 안녕하세요.
예, 안녕하세요. 아이고, 오래간만요. 한잔하십시오.
예? 막걸리요? 아, 난 술 안 마셔요. 죄송합니다.
막걸리.
이거 이름 뭐예요?
뭐요?
이거요.
짱기.
오, 장기요.
예.
고맙습니다.
이게 우리 한국 장기요.
한국 장기요?
차이나 장기하고 틀려요.
달라요?
야.
몰랐어요.
차이나 장기는 여기 가운데 이게 강이 있다고요. 강.
그래.
설명해봐야 몰라. 몰라. 다르다 하는 거만. 내가 먼저. 하수가 먼저 들려? 하수가 내가 도전자잖아.
수고하세요. A lot of the older parks will have older men sitting down and just enjoying their time, especially on a day like today. And the man was just explaining to me the difference in the games. This is the Korean version of a game called Janggi, which is similar to chess. And he just mentioned, he explained to me that it's different from the Chinese version. And he was saying that the Chinese version has something in the middle, which I don't know what it does have in the middle, but there's something in the middle that's different between the Chinese and the Korean version. And we scored a couple of little sausages. These are like, I don't know, I think they're tofu based cheese sausages. Coco, want a sausage? I think Coco will enjoy those. I find myself just wandering around the streets of Ulsan. These are some really old streets. Some of these buildings are renovated, like this one here. But overall, these are pretty old neighborhoods. Chances are these houses have been standing here for a very, very long time. There's an advertisement for honey from Jirisan. I don't know what kind of honey. 판매합니다. Wonpyeong. Oh, they're selling this property. Wonpyeong for 35,000 won, which is about $35,000. And Wonpyeong is, I have no idea how big, to be honest. The conversion rate, maybe 1 point something square meters, is a pyong. Let's go up this way to avoid the traffic on the main road. Back at the entrance of the hill. Well, that was about an hour hike or so, and I'm a little thirsty and I didn't bring any cash with me, so I'm gonna head home and get some water. I hope you enjoyed this little walk with me. If you did, make sure to come back, make sure to hit the likes button, subscribe to the channel. I come back on Monday for the Hagwon Startup podcast, and make sure you stay for the Wednesday edition of yet another video, whatever it may be.